Hey friends! So today's episode is for anyone who's ever had their life hit the refresh button without warning. I brought my sister Sarah back on the pod to talk about what it's really like going through a midlife divorce. We're covering the emotional gut punch, the financial chaos, and how to rebuild a life that actually feels like yours. And we get to the post-divorce tradition that absolutely deserves a spot in the mainstream. I cannot wait for you all to listen, so let's dive in. Hi, Sarah. Welcome to the pod.
Hi.
So happy to have you back on here. You are the first repeat guest.
Hopefully the most common repeat guest.
Yes, I'm sure. So today, we're talking about divorce, the club that nobody wants to be in, probably.
Yeah, generally no. Not
Generally
a
no.
club that you want to join.
But first, let's talk about what has been going on in our lives lately, just before we dive into the heavy. First thing, you were here in Tennessee.
Oh my gosh, I know. So you see my bland background. I just moved into this house. I have nothing on the walls. Lots of stuff still has to be done. But yeah, I'm in your town now.
We thought that it would never happen. I mean, I feel like we talked about you moving to Tennessee for years, and it seemed like this pipe dream.
My kids wanted it to happen, but I never thought like it could actually happen. But here I am. I made the scary thing happen.
It was a big job. You lived in your house for how many years?
13 years, and it was a huge house. Huge. I don't even remember how many square feet, but I downsized to something less than half the size.
Moving is really, really stressful, but overall, it's like net positive because you are here.
Whether you like it or not.
Whether I like it.
Okay.
it. Wanted to also talk about we've had some joint trauma besides the trauma bond of like moving.
Okay.
Our joint trauma this week has been the DMV. Both of us have been to the DMV this week for different purposes.
I didn't understand how movies and stuff portrayed the DMV as like a portal to hell, like
Truly.
actual hell on earth, until I came to Tennessee. And the DMVs here are atrocious. Okay, when you get there half an hour before it opens, there is a line of, I think there were at least 50 people in line. I asked the first person in line how long, like what time they got here. 4 a.m. to be first in line.
It is, like you said, its own special type of hell. Like, I went there because my oldest son, he had lost his learner's permit. He lost his entire wallet. He doesn't know where it is. So he needs to be driving and he needs to be practicing. And I said, well, you have to get another permit. I made the mistake of throwing away his paper permit when he got his plastic one in. And so we had to go. Like you, we got there 30 minutes before opening. So we got there at 8 o'clock. We were at least number 75 in line. We were there for 3 hours. 3 hours. And the kicker is 2 hours into it, I got a text because you check in at this kiosk and you kind of say what you need. Nobody is helpful. None of the staff is helpful at all. 2 hours later, I get a text saying, it's your turn. Go to window number 1. And so Dylan and I, we're in the car just waiting. And so we booked it. I was like, Dylan, go, go, go. Like, basically, like, there's a fire. We've got to get to window number 1. We get there. And the guy at the window says, oh, I sent that on mistake. It's not your turn. And I said, well, you texted me and I'm here. So can we just do this? And he says, no, that wouldn't be fair to the other people in front of you. And I'm
just people that didn't get a text?
I know. Seriously. So we waited for another hour. So 3 hours total. I guess silver lining when we finally did get our turn, it was only $8. So there's that. And then the girl at the window was actually very sweet and delightful. The DMV hadn't fully taken her soul yet. But,
good.
It's just a matter of time. But tell me about your experience.
Well, we're going to have to go visit the DMV again in about a month because I took my son to get his driver's test. So long process to get him a Tennessee permit. So he had an Indiana permit. We needed to get him a Tennessee permit so that then he could get a Tennessee license. There had to be papers notarized. Lots of time was spent getting ready for this driver's test. And he failed it.
You know, I can relate because I failed my driver's test the first time, January 11th, 2001. It will live in infamy in my life.
And that was like one of the worst days of your life because then didn't you go to gymnastics practice and like fall really hard?
I fell and I got hurt. It was just like literal, like
just the worst day.
One thing, on top of another. It was terrible.
You remember the huge bruise on your leg?
No, it was on my arm. It was like from
Oh, never mind.
elbow to armpit. It was
I thought you split the
terrible.
beam. Maybe you had a
No, I
different
was doing
time
a
where you had.
I was trying to do like a round off back tuck off the beam. Okay, so when my one
Okay,
of
a
my
new beam
feet
was
missed the
involved.
beam on the round up, yeah, and so I fell
Okay.
with my arm over my head, and I was just like hysterical, crying. Like, yes, it hurt very bad, but like the emotional trauma that had already been inflicted on my day, that just took it up like 20 other levels.
You just wanted to be done with the day and go home and cry.
Yes, it was terrible. So going to the DMV, it's like this inescapable hellhole that we all have to experience.
Which I didn't know that it could be that bad.
Welcome to Tennessee. So, like, as humans, we have accomplished so much. We have eradicated smallpox. We have gone to the moon. We
Yeah.
can order pretty much anything and have it to our doorsteps in 2 days. But the DMV is still so inefficient. It is like one of the places in, I guess, our civilization that like bureaucracy has just run wild, and it's horrible in its inefficiency.
Yeah.
We need
And
somebody on
their
this.
website doesn't even get updated but like once a year.
No, yeah, it's
According
like
to
you
the guy
can't
that
find all
works
the
there.
answers. Nobody will help you. You have to go there in person to ask your simple question. Who do we need on this? We need somebody on the case.
We need whoever came up with Chick-fil-A's drive-through.
Yes, we truly do. We need Chick-fil-A's, whoever did their drive-through engineering, whoever figured
Yeah.
out that system, please bring it to the DMV.
They come to your car, you tell them what you need.
Double the price of whatever this stupid thing is. Like for me, getting a new permit, it was $8. Charge me $16
And
and
then,
give me service that is not
yeah.
idiotic.
Yeah, you have no choices. It's a monopoly, really.
It truly is. Ugh. Okay, well, let's talk about something maybe just as bad as the DMV. Who knows? I guess depending on your experience. But let's talk about divorce. Let's talk about divorce, specifically divorce in midlife.
Yeah.
Divorce after you've been married for a long time. You've built a life with this person. You've been married, for you were married for almost 20 years,
Almost 20
three
years.
children. You know, your
Yeah.
lives had been sufficiently built together.
Meshed. Yeah.
Some divorce stats I looked up on ChatGPT. So the peak divorce years are late 30s to mid 40s. Statistically, the average age for a divorce in the United States is 45 for men and 42 for women. So if you're in your mid 40s and are getting a divorce, you're right on schedule.
Right on.
Yay! Many couples who are divorcing in their 40s have been together for 15 to 20 years. So it's like long enough to raise kids and build a life. And then, with some people, it's just simply growing apart and realizing you're not the same people. And then, there's a million other reasons why other marriages end. Another little item was the 7-year itch, which there's like a spike in divorce at 7 years. But then there's also the 17-year reevaluation. So I guess that's kind of the second spike of divorces, and it's often aligning with your age, and it's like the kids are older and your needs change, and then like partners are evaluating long-term compatibility.
I think some of it is probably because you are entering that midlife shift and you're like, is this really what the rest of my life is going to look like? And you kind of probably freak out thinking like, I don't want to do this for the next 40 years.
And before we begin, I want to say, like, obviously you just have your experience, you have what you've experienced, and there's like
Yeah.
this huge range in the spectrum of what divorce is and how it affects somebody. But just want to do that little disclaimer because you only know how your divorce was, and lots of people
Right.
had divorces that are completely different. But please, without going on any further about the DMV or trauma, tell us about your situation.
Let's see, March 4th, 2022, we were headed out to dinner. So my friend said, oh, your husband must be taking you to do something special because he asked if I could watch one of your kids overnight. And so I thought like, oh, he must have a plan to do something special.
Yeah,
Little
like,
did
nice
I know.
surprise.
Surprise, surprise. So the kids were dispersed. Looking back, he had been acting kind of odd. He hadn't said he hadn't initiated the I love yous in a couple weeks. He had been incredibly easygoing, like no pushback for anything. He had loaded us up on groceries like the couple days before. He'd gone to Sam's and gotten just a ton of stuff, probably because he was feeling bad about what was about to happen. His family knew, his coworkers knew, his boss knew. I didn't know anything. So we're going out to dinner, and I could tell something was bothering him. I was like, what is going on? Like, you're being really weird. talk to me. And he's like, no, we'll talk after dinner. I was like, no, pull over. Talk to me now. So he pulled over and said, I filed for divorce today. And I was in such shock that I responded, from who? From me? Like my brain wasn't processing it. We obviously didn't go to dinner. We went back to the house where he packed up all his stuff that he wanted. And
Kids were not at the house. Kids were
not at the
elsewhere. They were
house.
with friends.
And he went to his parents' house. They knew he was coming. And you remember because then I called you immediately.
Yeah.
And with 20 minutes, you were in your car driving 4 hours to my house.
Yeah. I remember packing really nonsensical. Like there was no rhyme or reason to what it had.
Yeah.
And yeah, I got to support you and be with you in like those, horrible first days where you were just reeling.
They were horrible.
Yeah.
I was broken. Like I was like literally, my brain was broken.
You were so blindsided is the thing, where it's not like there was this gradual breakdown and you'd been in counseling together and it was like, the more typical parting of ways. This was not a joint decision. It kind of makes me think of, not to make light of it, but again, back to Crazy Stupid Love, when Steve Carell finds out that his wife had been having an affair and she wants a divorce, and she's mid talking about this in the car, and she's driving, and he just
falls
drops
out of the car. He just opens. He's like, "Can you stop talking?" And she doesn't stop talking, and he just opens the door and falls out of the car.
It's like I could see how he would want to do that when he's just like, no. Like his brain has already exploded. He just doesn't know what to do with his life. And aren't you happy that you weren't at dinner? What if you had gone out to dinner? Because it's like,
I think he said something like, we'll talk at dinner.
So what he was going to say this at dinner, like, I filed for divorce today. What did he think? Like, we're in a public place. She's not going to,
I don't know,
freak out as much?
I don't know. I couldn't sleep for days. I would get little chunks of sleep. You slept in my bed with me. And one of the kindest things that you did, I know how much you hate feet and you hate like anything touching your feet or touching anyone's feet. You let me touch my foot to yours at night because that's how I would sleep.
It's true. But like desperate times, I feel like when you step up for your family, especially when it's something as significant as this.
You'll let your sister touch her foot to your foot.
Going back to where you were, it's been over 3 years, but like to say very generally, like your marriage was never an easy marriage. Your marriage was never one where you were probably felt like both of you were thriving together. It was kind of a struggling situation where you were like, you were on the same team most of the time.
Sometimes.
But like, yeah, I would
felt
say
like we weren't working together. I mean, I would handle stuff. He would handle stuff. We had the same purpose, but I didn't feel like I had
like a partnership,
a partner.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, going back to where you were 3 years ago, if your ex would not have filed for divorce and just did this drastic action, do you think you would still kind of be limping along in your marriage even now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that I would have. Because for a long time, I always had hope that things would get better, things would be different. Or when he likes his job, or when we had more money, that like, then he'd be happy. Because I just felt like he wasn't happy. And I had to kind of find my own happy along the way. And
because you're the only one you can control. You can't control anybody else.
You can't really judge somebody else's situation until you've been in. I made choices that I wish that I could take back through the 20 years, like things that I allowed, things that I did, things that I said. I wish that I could go back and do it over.
Yeah, because it's not like a marriage where you were this ideal partner in every single way, and then, he swooped in was the villain. It's not that.
There were unmet needs on both sides the entire time.
So, like, you have been essentially blindsided, and now you have like this whole roller coaster of emotions. Like, there's the grief, there's the rage. There might be like a little snippet of relief in some way at some point. I don't know if you felt that at all.
Well, exactly 1 week after he filed, my daughter and I had tickets to go see Billie Eilish with a friend and her daughter. We had floor seats. Like, I look back at pictures, and I mean, my eyes are puffy. My face is just like pale. I remember just feeling so sad.
Yeah, like even though I'm at this place that should be so fun and this is like peak
Mhm.
human experience.
Yeah, especially for me because I love going to concerts. I love live music.
I remember the week where when I was visiting you, I felt like the Casey Musgraves Star-Crossed album was kind of on repeat because that's very much a divorce breakup album.
Yeah.
So 3 years later, can you listen to that album or does it take you into too painful of a place?
I still like it. It depends on how I'm feeling. Sometimes if I need sort of a good cathartic cry, I mean, even though I'm at a very different place in my life, there's still just emotions and regrets, and I wouldn't change where I am now. I really wouldn't trade it. But I do wish that I had handled a lot of things differently.
All right. Well, now that we've processed a little bit,
Yeah.
rehashed kind of one of the worst days you've ever had, now we have to talk about like the logistics. So your marriage is ending,
Yeah.
all of a sudden this is happening, like it or not, these wheels are in motion. And so now there's so many things where you're trying to like figure out the logistics. You have this like
Hmm.
sudden logistics panic of like trying to figure out how to change your utilities or, unexpected bills or like trying to figure out what are you going to do with your life, like a full-on financial
Yeah.
whiplash. And this is something that probably a lot of women who are in your position where it's all of a sudden you have the panic of like you're suddenly the sole provider. I mean, for you, for years and years, you were a stay-at-home mom. You have your associate's degree, but you don't have a bachelor's degree. You never really jumped on like the traditional career path where you would be the breadwinner or be able to support your family. And
Right.
so suddenly you're in a place where, wow, you're going to have to change things in a
Yeah.
significant way because yes, there's child support. Yes, there's, alimony or whatever, but like your family's
It was
financial state was not a
dire.
place where you can have two independent households. It was a very modest income.
So I had already been working two jobs. I had my job at the salon, and then I was working a retail job sporadically, but really not enough to pay my bills. It was just sort of like to help out. All of a sudden, I had to rely on those jobs. Mom and dad had offered to pay for my lawyer, but I said no. Any decision that I make
You
is
had to
going
like
to be
own
my
it.
decision. And I wasn't going into it trying to ruin him, because we still have to parent our kids together.
So I feel like in a divorce, the only people who win are the attorneys because they get paid and they don't have the emotional anguish. And when it's talking about specifically finances, I mean, divorce, like everybody ends up really, I mean, it's extremely expensive from what I've heard and learned. And really, the only people who are not, maybe
And
in a
maybe the
horrible state.
counselors. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
The
that too.
counselors.
But like the only people who don't hurt from a divorce, it's like super rich people, honestly. Like,
Well,
and
but
that
even
makes
then, they probably lose a ton of their income because rich people can fight until the money runs out.
it's true. I actually did a little research. So, you always hear about celebrities getting divorced, and seems like it's more often than not that they get married and then a few years later it's divorce. Because it makes me think, okay, there's lots of layered reasons, but a lot of it's like when both of you have tons of money, there's no pressure to stay in for economic purposes at
Right.
all.
That's
And
true.
not saying that that's why many people stay in their marriages completely, but maybe that gives them incentive to try to work things out a little bit because life without their marriage doesn't seem to be just fine. But whereas if
Yeah.
you're both independently wealthy, it's like, okay, I can go on. So Kevin Costner, right? He has been
Okay.
married, I think he's been married and divorced twice, but his first divorce, he got taken to the cleaners because they didn't have a prenup. And so I think
Because he wasn't famous yet, probably.
he wasn't as big as he was. So like he got divorced. His first divorce cost him $80 million. $80 million.
That's like fake money. I don't
I
like.
know. It's like you
Can you
can't even
imagine
you can't even
having?
fathom $80 million.
No. I mean,
But yeah, so he had to give his ex-wife $80 million. His second marriage, he had like this crazy like ironclad prenup. And so the second wife, he was even richer, but she got a lump sum of $1 million, which sounds amazing. But when you think of how
how
exorbitant
she
the
had been
lifestyle
living.
was, it was very small. And then 64,000 a month in child support. And again, sounds like insane money, but she really did have to significantly change her lifestyle
Sure.
from what it was. And so I remember she asked the court for $248,000 a month for child support, and she argued that luxury is in her children's DNA.
Yeah, that's not,
I know, it was
not helpful.
super laughable. But like it makes you think no matter what, I mean, yes, eat the rich. We don't care. But when you think of somebody through their divorce has to dramatically decrease the standard of their living from being like up here to maybe right here, it's still a hard thing. I mean, and there's celebrity divorces that like get nasty and you see them in the tabloids, but then there are other people who do them well.
Like, are Brad and Angelina actually divorced now or no? Are
I
they still?
think they are. I think their divorce is finalized. Now they're just fighting over their French winery. Rich people problems. But like Gwyneth Paltrow and Chris Martin, they did their divorce, and remember it was conscious uncoupling. And like at first everybody like rolled their eyes and laughed, but like it's been years and years. It seems like they're still this cohesive co-parenting unit, and they go on vacations together. And like, I mean, I'm sure it was like a huge road to get there. They weren't just like happy and working together from day one, but they had gotten to that point.
Any way you do it, it's expensive.
Yeah, even if you don't have to divide up every little asset and your property and your cabin in Aspen and your private jet,
Well, so what we did, I traded my stake in his retirement for the house. Yeah. And everything that came, I mean, yes, I got the equity in the house, but also it was 100-year-old house. There's a lot of maintenance. There's a lot of things that ended up getting sort of neglected because I just didn't have the money to put into it. I was just surviving.
There's weight of being kind of the only adult there where it's like, even though you and your ex had ways that you kind of struggled, you also had your roles where, you would help with this, or if there was maintenance that was needed, it was more in his wheelhouse. If the car had a problem, he could help you out in other ways. And then all of a sudden, he's not that he was deceased or, suddenly like fled the country, but it wasn't his role to help you with these things anymore. So you had to really step up in a lot of ways that like you were not anticipating.
Correct.
So with you and your marriage, it seemed like the division of like logistics and assets and everything was not a super complicated deal. A lot of people have so many more things that it's like, oh, that makes the division. It makes me think of The Wedding Crashers. How Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn, their characters are divorce mediators. And so they're like in these horrible situations and they're fighting over stupid ticky-tacky things, but they get so angry. And so I guess a somewhat silver lining, it seems like, is that your division did not seem like it was a super contentious.
No, I mean, like usual, I didn't want to rock the boat more than I needed to. We didn't have a lot. So that's, I guess, one perk of being poor is that you don't have a lot of assets.
You didn't have to fight over the Sky Miles,
no,
the lake house, or the crypto.
Like, maybe I wish I had more things to fight over, but no, we really didn't. And neither one of us wanted to harm the other one. I mean, at first, yes, I wanted to throw my ring at him and for him to realize what a terrible mistake he was making. But truly, whatever I did and however I acted, I would have to live with that the next however long years. I mean, we were always going to be the parents to our kids. It could have gone much worse had he reacted, differently, or I reacted differently. Mm-hmm. We could have out crazied each other, but we didn't.
Oh, yeah. You hear about people all the time. Like divorce brings out the absolute worst qualities in them and they become a person that they don't even recognize. But I do think like as an outsider, recognizing that neither of you got nasty, which is really commendable because there's so many emotions and so much anger and hurt and grief and rejection that I think it really would be easy to become,
I'm sure
a lesser version of yourself.
Yeah, I'm sure there were times that I said the snark that were on my mind.
I mean, you didn't set his truck on fire, so there's, kind of on that, like your rebuild, like the logistics of being this solo adult. All of a sudden, you're the single parent. How did that go for you?
So I ended up increasing my hours on my retail job so that I could get health insurance through that job. And so I was working literally 7 days a week. So between my salon job and between my retail job, 7 days a week, unless I specifically scheduled a day off. after about a year of 2 years of that, even, I knew that I couldn't keep doing it. When I was crying before work, it was like, okay, I need to figure something else out.
Yes, like this is not the way. This is not going to be working. So after the months of, just feeling like, what is my life? How did I get here? Crying, crying, crying. Like, what is the first thing that you can remember of being like, I'm going to be okay? Where you finally are either feeling peace or you're feeling something positive. Do you remember?
I don't know. I jumped into dating probably too fast because I'm miserable. How can I stop being miserable? Maybe get excited about something else.
Let's talk about that a little bit. So, like, you jumped into the adventures of dating in your 40s. The
Yeah.
last time you had dated somebody was 2002. Tell me the chaos of apps.
Oh my gosh. You get on the apps and you see people that you actually know in real life and you're like, oh no, 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 no. Like, don't
Never.
see me on here because you
Yeah.
don't want them to then try to match with you and then you have to like say no and then have to see them in real life. So that's
That's
awkward. I think getting on the apps when you're 40 is awkward because the people that are your age have a broad range of ages that they consider dateable. So, like, if a 40-year-old guy is on there, is he going to go for a 40-year-old girl or is he going to go for the 31-year-old or the 27-year-old? You know what I mean? Who we've talked about this before, like, hasn't shown signs of aging or doesn't have the complicated backstory or day to day that somebody that's 40.
Yeah, I feel like, okay, if you're 40 years old, I'm just going to say, if you're a 40-year-old man and you're searching for, 25-year-old women, obviously they don't have the same life baggage. Their body will not show this 40-year-old signs of wear. However, they're going to have somebody who isn't really on par with them or on level with them. Or when you think about life experience or where you're really at. Let me think about like Jeff Bezos, for example. Okay, I'm no big fan of Jeff Bezos, right? He like cheated on his first wife, Mackenzie. Thank goodness she got 50% of the massive fortune. But I will say, I do appreciate that now, he's married the mistress,
Okay.
Lauren Sanchez, but at least she's age appropriate, right?
Yeah.
Like he's 61, she's 55. He could have pulled a Leonardo DiCaprio and get some 22-year-old like blow up doll,
Yes, you could.
but
Yeah.
at least Jeff did that.
There's a silver lining.
There's a silver lining. Jeff, you haven't disappointed women in every way, just in many.
You're going to
So thank you
get
for
blackballed for that.
all of a sudden my Amazon orders will be canceled and not go through. But yeah, he could have been a Leonardo DiCaprio, who at this point, Leonardo, it's getting gross. It's getting
It
gross.
really is.
It's getting awkward.
It really is.
But yeah, you're
Noticing like, oh no, I'm going to have to appeal to people again. Yeah, you want to be yourself, but you also want to be your best self so that they also like you. Though it does help to like, if you set the bar low. So here was my accidental technique with the like first podcast recording that we did where I had no makeup on. Like people are going to be like, oh, look how pretty she is now. Because like
she
I
was
put the
looking
bar
like
really low.
like a bog witch in the first
Yeah.
one, and now she's like a princess.
Like, right. So if you set the bar low, then any effort is gonna be appreciated.
I feel like when you're on the apps, it's such a small snippet of like, okay, you have these few pictures in this whatever
Yeah.
witty profile. It's like it's such a small snapshot. And so like you never know who you're going to attract or whoever's going to swipe based
You
on
literally
that
are judging
little-
a book by its cover.
Oh, absolutely. Ugh. So, and it's like you think how many awesome people did you not swipe on and how many people where you would have really been a great fit? I mean, just based on, yes, the cover of this book.
I got into a relationship right after my divorce, like pretty quick. I was in that relationship for about 18 months.
Really nice guy.
Very nice guy, wonderful guy. Just, I was healing during that time. I really do appreciate like the time that we had together, but ultimately I knew it wasn't forever.
Well, and he gave you essentially the gift of realizing what it was like to feel valued and
Yes,
appreciated and
absolutely.
heard. So even though you guys
Yeah.
ultimately were not a long-term match,
Right.
he gave you some wonderful gifts.
Yeah. Knowing what a relationship should feel like.
Okay, quick pause. If you're loving this episode, do me a favor. Send it to a friend who would love it too. And if you leave a review on Apple Podcasts or rate it on Spotify, that's how this pod grows. No algorithm manipulation, no going viral on the Coldplay concert Jumbotron, just good old-fashioned word of mouth and reviews by actual listeners. I would love you forever if you could just take a quick second to help Found at 40 grow. All right, back to it. We're talking rebuilding your life. Why aren't we throwing parties for every single woman who is rebuilding her life? Like rebuilding at the end of the marriage. I mean, like you survived, you paid a lawyer, you kept the air fryer, like you're doing the things, you're doing your life. I mean, I'm talking about, of course,
Yes.
your divorce shower, which
I know.
This is
Which
the
was
first
really
time
fun.
I'd never heard of a divorce shower
Really?
before yours. Yeah.
No, I think I've heard of it, but like it wasn't something I knew anybody did.
Explain to anyone who is not familiar with the concept, like what is a divorce shower and why?
So it's kind of like a wedding shower, but for your divorce. So my friends told me to register for things that I wanted. Sort of like, let's get rid of the old stuff from your marriage and get you new pretty things. So I registered for these pink drinking glasses that
Like the
during my
prettiest
marriage,
tumblers.
I know, so pretty. But during my marriage, my husband would not have been cool with pink glasses. New bed sheets. People are giving me gifts of things that they know I like or make me happy.
The things that you had, your entire marriage of, okay, we've had these plates, these cups, these
Yeah.
things that are used. Like you kind of want to do a clean slate in a lot of ways. You're probably at a certain point, you're ready to be like, I'm moving on and I'm doing my
And
life.
I don't have to think about anybody else's preferences except for mine. Like, what do I want in my kitchen or in my bedroom or in my bathroom? Like, I registered,
Yeah.
I think even for hot pink towels at one point. I don't
Yeah.
think nobody got me the hot pink towels, which is fine. But it was just like, here, let's click all the things that seem fun.
And I loved it. It was just very much all of us supporting you, and you had your tribe around you and the people who were supporting you the most, and we're just so excited to be like, Sarah's awesome and it's gonna be okay. And then there were lots of like funny gifts. I remember you got a coloring book, like an adult coloring book.
Oh.
And it was like a
Yes.
post-divorce coloring book.
Yes.
The one I remembered was the page that said I faked it every time.
Oh my gosh,
It was
yes,
so
I forgot
funny
about
because
that.
it was just like the same giddy excitement.
Kind of like snarky, funny, empowering. Like I have this notebook right here. This one says, in case no one told you today, teeth look sharp, your visage terrifies men, the crown of femurs atop your head is dazzling. Just like one of my friends gave me this notebook. Just self-empowerment,
And I feel like it needs to be a normalized thing. Like if you have a friend that's going through a divorce, plan a divorce shower for them. Plan something where you're just like,
It's something that is their vibe though. Like if just friends going out to dinner or whatever is more your vibe, everybody bring something to make them happy.
Yeah.
Or you can go all out and have a big old party and register. It's really just whatever's going to make the person feel loved and celebrated.
So we've talked about lots of aspects of your divorce. We haven't really gotten into, having kids in the middle of it or kind of navigating that. And that's not really the focus of like this episode, but I can't not mention that it's like divorce affects your kids no matter what. I mean, whether there are parents that are screaming at each other or whether it's, let's be peaceful and calm for the kids. So I know that, there are a lot of hard parts about divorce. And, one of those times is, okay, as a parent, they're with their dad a lot of the time. And so realizing like, okay, holidays are not going to be the same because there's going to be kind of a switch back and forth. And so there's always like, obviously the heartbreak of knowing that you're not going to have your kid all the time. But at the same time, there's also kind of the unexpected perk of when they are with their dad, you're able to focus a little bit on you. You're able to do either what you need to do or what you want to do. I mean, there are some things, there's a lot that's probably like, okay, when they're with their dad, you don't have to feel bad about either, working or studying or going out with friends or whatever.
Right.
I mean, it's not
It's harder
all
also.
sadness.
Right. There are perks. As long as the co-parent is a good one, or you know that they're safe, or you know that they're being cared for when they're with them, I think it can be a fun time. I get to do whatever I
Absolutely.
want. It's weird because I had never really lived on my own ever.
Can we rewind just a little bit? Because I don't think we didn't talk about how your marriage really started and where you were in your life. Could
Okay.
you share a little bit about that?
Sure. He and I met when we were teenagers, and like we had feelings for each other, but like we lived far apart. And so, anyway, we reconnected when I was 20 and quickly got married, had our oldest. And I went from, my parents' house to then living with roommates in college to being married, like getting divorced. That's the first time I have ever lived alone.
Yeah, and
I
it's
don't know
like you
where
weren't
I
alone
was.
because you have your kids, but like there was no one who was no other
Right.
adult
Yeah, I'm
co-running
the
the
adult.
show or
Right.
keeping the wheels on.
I have to handle all the things.
Yeah, like you are the sole authority, and it also like when the freezer stops working, like you're the one who has to handle it.
Well, my dad is the one that has to handle it. Like,
Thank
Dad,
goodness for him. Thank
I
goodness for
know.
him.
Dad, my AC is out. What do I do?
But now in Tennessee, Dad's not in Tennessee, but
But I am renting, so I can call the landlord.
it's true.
Or I'll be like, Chrissy. No.
Me or Ben. So you went from like wife life where you were actively, in a partnership with somebody. Suddenly it ended, and it took you some time to figure out like who are you, Sarah, as adult woman, head of household. Tell me a little bit about what went into your, I guess, shift into that to figuring out who you are and like how you were going to manage life. Like, was it just time? Was it talking to friends? Was it therapy? What was helpful for you?
In my marriage, I didn't feel like my partner was really emotionally supportive. So I found a lot of that support through friendships, and through the things that I did myself, like roller derby or, my job. So I had practice already.
I feel like
Um,
you had a framework where you weren't an island in your life. It's not like without
right,
your marriage you were completely floundering. You already had
right.
this tribe of friends. You already had people
Hmm.
who were, you were not completely isolated, which you think of there are a lot of women who in their marriages, especially when it's marriages that, are not happy ones, there are too many who
Right.
are kind of an island unto themselves. They don't have these
Yeah,
strong friendships or, whatever. So like you were not in one of those situations.
correct.
Not that you were ever put in a place where you were supposed to, but like you had actively built your village around you. So another thing that's kind of sticky when it comes to divorce, I imagine, is there are some marriages where it's kind of like the gradually parting of ways where you realize both partners have fallen out of love with each other, or
Hmm.
there's a horrific situation where you're like that love switch has turned off and there's no going back. I mean, for you and for many people going through divorces, it's not like that, where you're wondering, how am I supposed to immediately not love them anymore?
Right,
I feel
right.
like that's
And
a
I
really
mean,
tough thing to navigate.
and we ended up trying again, I guess, 18 months or so after the divorce. We both broke up with the people that we were dating and tried getting back together. I think my expectations of it were different than his expectations of it, because ultimately it didn't work out. But I'm glad that we gave it that try because now I
Hmm.
can move forward feeling good about the effort that I put in.
Do you remember the Taylor Swift song that I sent you in the midst of all of this?
Yes. Yes.
LOML, which is love of my life,
Love of my
loss of
life,
my life.
loss of my life. It feels so heavy.
And even now, you are in a different place. You've
Hmm.
been more at peace with your divorce now than you ever have been. But there's still, like you said, like you'll always be a little bit sad that things didn't work out.
Yeah,
Not that you want to work it out, you know that it's for the best, but
correct.
there's also sadness there. So I did a little bit of research about divorce, research on Reddit.
Yes.
So big asterisks of like, this is not scientific research, but I really do love
Yeah.
hearing, people's perspectives. And I'm going to read you one little thing, a comment that somebody made, a Redditor, about divorce, talking about your marriage ending to the love of your life. This person said, the love of your life so far. God willing, you have a lot of life to go. In many ways, your life and your relationships are up to you. You're the one that gets to write the story. At first, you might not believe what you're writing, but as life unfolds according to your script, you will. Right now, you're holding on to a certain version of the script. So even if your new relationship has potential to be something more, you'll never let it because you're holding on to the old story. You have to be willing to keep writing a new story for yourself. Your ex-husband doesn't own the rights to it. You do. The brand new story could even involve your ex. Anything is possible, but just know that you get to decide, so make it a beautiful one and commit to whatever it is. Believe in it and yield to it. Don't let yourself be shackled by the past.
That's
I
great.
loved that. I
That is
mean,
great.
really thinking, he was the love of your life so far. And for that part of your life, he was. And now he is able to find love with somebody who is a better fit for him. And you have been able to find love with somebody else who is a great fit for you.
Right.
And so, you can look back and have joy and also sadness about how your marriage progressed and, ultimately ended. So I want to talk a little bit about kind of like the hard truth of, yes, you have moved on with somebody else, but so has your ex. And you kind of have to navigate that a little bit because, yes, you are not romantic partners anymore. You hope that this person who your ex chooses to be with is a person who helps him grow and become the best version of himself.
Yes.
And also knowing that your children will get to know this person in some way more likely than not. I mean, if it's a serious relationship, they'll probably meet. And so realizing that, like, yeah, you don't have any control over the type of person that he is with, and hoping that it is somebody,
Right.
who is worth being around.
That is healthy and happy, and that they can be a good environment for the kids to be around, for sure. But also, I don't want to see pictures of them together. I don't want to get on Instagram or Facebook and see the pictures of them together. But I'm glad that he's happy with somebody, because I'm happy with someone, and I think we should both be happy.
And when you think of your relationship with your ex, it's like no matter what, your relationship is not fully done. You have kids together. And so you're always going to be, especially when your kids are living at home and they're not fully launched as adults, it's like you guys will be in regular contact. And then even after that, even when your kids are like in their 30s and 40s and 50s, it's like you will still be seeing each other, holidays, important events, whatever. And it's like, it's important to at least have some type of an amicable situation, right? Because you don't want to be that type where it's like, my parents can't be in the same room. We're going to have to.
Right. Yeah. I don't want that kind of relationship. Some relationships require that, though.
Yeah.
Where they
and
truly
yours doesn't
should
at this
not.
point, not at all, because you've figured it out and you're not. There was nothing like crazy traumatic or dangerous or whatever. And it's like you just have to figure out how to co-parent. I mean, I have one good friend, and in her phone, her ex-husband his name is the absolute worst. That's what it says.
Oh, no.
So every time he calls, it says the absolute worst. Because, I mean, their situation was definitely quite a bit more contentious. But, you do what you got to do. So 3 years post-divorce, you're able to see not just what happened, this happened to you, but you're able to see a little bit your role, that it wasn't just, 100% him doing this and then you're this like innocent bystander, whatever. It's like, you can see kind of the bigger picture of the ending of your marriage. But how would you say you are now?
I'm hopeful now. I'm stressed, but happy. I don't think I can ask for more.
I mean, I feel like this has given you an opportunity to figure out who you are more.
What do I want? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. In a way that you never would have.
I mean, I would love to go visit different timelines where different things happen, just out of my own curiosity. Because I feel like, and this is getting all weird and theoretical, but I do feel like, there are different timelines of us that exist out there. And this is just the one that I'm in. So it would be interesting to see, like, if I had made a different decision in this context, where would I be? It's like the book, The Midnight Library. Do you remember?
That book. I really did like that book.
Yeah, but it's like,
we're like sliding
she gets to
doors
visit.
A little bit.
Well, at the Midnight Library, she gets to visit herself had she made this other decision. She visited like herself at that age or that moment. So it would be really interesting. But like where I am now, I mean, who knows? Everything could fall apart tomorrow and I might regret everything. But I like where my life is going right now.
What advice would you give to somebody who is kind of maybe in your situation where their marriage is in a rough spot and they're potentially on that slow off ramp towards divorce? Or even if they're on like fast ramp, what advice would you give specifically the woman in the case?
What would I give to somebody who's who's looking to divorce? Well, I would tell them it's going to be expensive. It really depends on the situation. Do you have the ability to support yourself outside of the marriage? If not, figure that part out. But also, like, if there's any way that you guys can fall back in love, or if they're willing to do any counseling, I mean, I wish that we had found a counselor years and years and years and years and years ago. I mean, I think that was advice that you gave me right away. Like, you guys need counseling.
But like, you can lead a horse to water, you can't make them drink. You know,
Yeah.
you can say this is from a total outsider. This is what you
You
should
can
do.
tell a
But
horse
like,
where to go get the water, but you have to like hand them the
yeah,
water.
yeah. Like if you knew you're in trouble, why was there such a barrier to being like, oh, let's work
Actually,
on this issue?
counseling is expensive. We've never really had much money. And so it didn't seem like something that we had money for. It didn't seem like something we would have time for.
Maybe
You
the
would,
bandwidth for anyway, like the emotional
right,
bandwidth.
right.
If you would have still had the same outcome in your marriage at year 19, where the marriage is going to end, what do you wish you would have done earlier or had in place? Like, what would you have done in year one of your marriage? What would you have done maybe once all of your kids were in school?
I wish that I had finished my degree. Like I got an associate's degree, and then I did some random semesters of college, but nothing that like culminated in an actual bachelor's degree. And then do my own counseling, go just for myself. I wish that I could have had the conversations that I had in my head. Do you know, like when you're mad about something or you're frustrated, you start having an argument, a fake argument in your head? Do you do this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so it's like, that's when I start doing that. That's when I realized, oh, I need to have this conversation because this is creating anxiety. I wish I had
Yeah.
had those conversations before they got to that point. I wish we had learned how to communicate, not passive aggressively, because I feel like that kills a possibility.
My question is, so you've had two serious relationships since your marriage with other men, and they've been, different personalities. Where do you break those patterns so your future relationships can succeed? So maybe if you want to get married again in the future, you will be the type of partner that you would want to have.
I think dating someone with a different personality type than the one that my ex-husband has, where they actually want to talk about the things that are bothering them or bothering me, and not in an argumentative way, not in an accusatory way. Like, I just think personality wise, he and I were a really difficult fit. Recognizing the things that are not in harmony with how I like to feel. Because I like things, I don't want to argue, but I do want to talk about things that need to be talked about. I don't want to have things just stay in my head and marinate and end up coming out passive aggressively.
Well, what is your advice to anyone who is in the same place as you, maybe 3 years ago, facing divorce in midlife?
Let's see, let your friends help you. You'll find out sort of who your people are. Find a counselor that you feel like doesn't judge you, because then you can be more honest with them and in turn get more help through everything. Make sure that you truly do follow each path. Like, if I had not tried dating my ex again, I don't know that I would be where I am now, feeling like, okay, I really did give it everything that I had, minus all the things that had happened before. It was like a fresh start. Let's try this again. Now I can say, like, I know that that's not the path for me.
It gave you closure in a way that you wouldn't have
That's what
had.
that's called, closure.
It gave you the closure to know, like, okay, we tried this again with a whole different perspective and
Yeah.
a different goal in mind, really. And you realized this still is not going to be the best decision for
Right.
us. It's like you are starting a new path. It's like a whole new act for you. And it's probably in a lot of ways scary.
is
Mostly
scary.
probably scary, but also like kind of exciting. Like Natasha Bedingfield once said, the rest is still unwritten. Thanks, Natasha. I know,
true.
right?
Yeah.
So just want to finish up. First, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
course.
coming on again. But guess what? The first time that you were here, we're not doing the final four questions. So let's do final four. Sarah, what's the first concert you've ever been to?
New Kids on the Block.
Yeah, you were young. You were like
I was 10. Yeah.
That was like the height of New
Kids.
Kids.
With Jordan Knight.
Jordan Knight, my goodness.
Yep.
I definitely had a poster of John on my door. I was like in the first grade. I remember this. Yeah, the one who's gay had his poster on my door. I think I got it at a garage sale or something. I know, I know, but you had to pick one. So,
you did have to pick. Yeah, you had to pick one.
Yeah. So that was your first concert. What is your best concert?
The first time I ever saw Shiny Twiggins, it was at a tiny little club. I was front row. I knew every word to every song. I just was feeling the music. It was great.
Who would play you in a movie?
Growing up, I was told that there was a resemblance to Reese Witherspoon, so maybe I would go with that. As I get older, I hear more like Naomi Watts, Julia Stiles.
Okay.
There's pieces there of each one of them.
Okay, last question. What have you found at 40 or in your 40s?
So I think I've found hope and resilience that I didn't know I had.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. I guess until next time.
See you later.
See ya. Bye.